Welcome to the show, everybody. I am wearing braids today because I'm trying to channel in some small way Jules LeBron. And if you haven't heard of Jules LeBron in the past week or two, where have you been? Living under a rock? You must have been, or perhaps you've just simply got a life outside of social media. But Jules LeBron went viral. Jules LeBron is very demure, very mindful.
You see how I do my makeup for work? Very demure, very mindful.
And that catchphrase has swept the world, or so it appears, and demure has become word of the year. I'll let you do your own research, my dear, on the search engine of your fancy. Just type in the word demure and you'll see what all this nonsense is about. But we are all to be inspired by being very demure, very mindful, very sweetsy and cutesy and very kind. And it's very interesting, my dear, because as you know, I have got connections in the world of fashion, and I've discussed them with you before and shared certain whispers with you. And there are circles that move within her circles, and there are whispers that I receive that indicate that the headlines that describe Catherine as demure over many years, many years, demure, 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 pertaining to the Princess of Wales. Those headlines have been going on for over a decade, consistently, year after year. I hear tell that they did not escape the attention of a certain blousy duchess. Yes. Demure, demure, demure. And it's very difficult, you know, nigh on impossible, unless you're paying them, to engineer that sort of praise from the press, or indeed prompt it. Yes, the word has been used to describe Meghan in various headlines over the last few years, but usually, if not always, in a sarcastic context and used in quotation marks, if you like, not the real thing, as if she is only acting demure, and that is what she wishes us to believe that she is. Well, she's going to have a very hard time convincing the world of that. Catherine is the epitome of demure. The epitome of it. She is it. She lives it. She doesn't have to put on some sort of pretense about it. She's very demure, very mindful, very kind, sometimes cutesy, yes, but a demure sort of cutesy, not some vulgar form of it. She's mindful. And the attempt at image rehabilitation of Meghan's, I'm told, is an attempt at royal style. And we can see through it, it's entirely transparent. Indeed, one thinks royal, one thinks demure. Look at the likes of Sophie. Look at the likes of the Duchess of Gloucester. Look at Lady Louise. Demure, demure, demure. In fact, the royal mantra, never complain, never explain, embodies demure. It's very mindful. Catherine was demure after childbirth. She was demure for the coronation. Catherine was demure in black lace at royal gatherings and demure on official visits abroad. Catherine was praised for being demure when she was on duty as a wife and a royal, and demure in respect to other traditions. She was even demure in the nude. In fact, she's a lot like me. Very demure, very mindful, very cutesy. Yes, I don't go around causing a commotion in some brash, vulgar way, do you understand? If I do cause a commotion, then I do it by being demure, by being cutesy. You see? Mindful. That's how you cause a sensation. That is the regal way. Consider Catherine's internet-breaking moment on the bench. Remember that? That announcement was understated, regal, demure, and mindful. Now, if you compare this with Harry and Meghan, on Oprah Winfrey, for example, and their spare fiction, well, That is an example of what is not cutesy, of what is not mindful, and what is not demure, by any stretch of the imagination. I actually took the time to filter the comment section by keyword so that I could see what basketeers have been saying in relation to the word demure, and I can't read them all out here. And I will say some of you had complimented me as demure, which I thank you for. But I will read out the comments that came in regarding Catherine first. Thank you, Princess Catherine, always divinely demure and princessly poised.
I'm very modest. I'm very mindful. You see my shirt? Only a little chichi out, not my chocho.
Wonderful to see Catherine today. Picture of elegance and demureness.
No, I've always been very sweetsy though. Very sweet girl.
Thank you for... Oh, this one was Lady Lou. I slipped one of hers in here. Thank you for providing some photographs of Lady Louise, who is always so beautiful and demure.
You know, I hold doors open for people. I compliment their outfits.
Princess Catherine may be demure, but she is a demon at sports, a bona fide photographer, a pianist, speaks French, I believe, and just shining as a wife and mother. Catherine's maquillage looked exquisite. Her look is always fair and demure and proper. In contrast, her coronation makeup was stunning and perfectly fitting.
I see someone got a haircut. I see someone got a highlight. I compliment their hair. Even if it's not my style, that doesn't matter.
Catherine's headpiece was terrible. She could have worn the Strathmore Rose tiara or her wedding tiara for a more demure look. So a little criticism there.
Giving people compliments that makes them feel very lifted and uplifted and sweet is very sweetsy, very demure, very kind.
Catherine looks divine. She always dresses to perfection, so demure but elegant. And now let's look at the comments that came in about Meghan. These two divisive impostors are using Princess Catherine and Prince William as templates. Markle trying to act demure. The woman is classless and clueless.
Here's your reality check, diva. What's the name you'd like me to make it out to?
Nice dress it might be, but the string-strapped sundress top was at odds with the demure, professional dress of the other official ladies on the dais.
Not demure.
I remember the engagement video when I met Meghan. I cringed with Meghan covering her mouth when she laughed, trying to be shy and demure like a Japanese schoolgirl. So demure, so mindful. I don't think so. Her ding-a-ling facial expressions when she looks at Harry. Ugh.
I don't come to work with a green cut crease. I don't look like a clown when I go to work. I don't do too much. I'm very mindful while I'm at work.
Forget the face. The choice of pose, especially the humble and pious hand gesture, seems to try and show her as pathetically demure and outdated. Not a neutral or empowered pose at all. She loves wearing bed sheets, quilts and curtains and thinks she looks so elegant and demure. It's such a riot.
Not demure.
I am aware the temperature in Nigeria was hovering in the 90s this weekend. Still, she needed to take her hosts into consideration and dress more demurely. I am certain she offended those present. Meghan's expression reminded me of the fake demure expression she had when she first met the royal family.
Be mindful of why they hired you.
Why is she trying to be so demure? She literally said, "Oh sugar, my man is calling me." Like, really lady, you don't talk like that. I guarantee she curses like a sailor. Well, you've certainly got the measure of her, haven't you, basketeers?
Let's be kind, divas. Let's uplift each other.
See what I mean about not fooling anybody? You've either got it or you ain't. And Catherine's got it in spades. As have I. Anyway, over in Balmoral, King Cozy Socks was formally welcomed by a guard of honour and well-wishers. He inspected the Balaclava Company 5th Battalion of the Royal Regiment of Scotland at the gates of the castle, and he had a chinwag and a catch-up with Corporal Craucombe, the adorable Shetland pony who is mascot of the regiment. He knows all the secrets, does our corporal, a cherished confidant of the sovereign. A band and the pipes and drums of the Royal Corps of Signals heralded the king's arrival, and new £1 coins went into circulation today, with 3 million of them issued to banks and post offices across the kingdom. His Majesty's effigy is featured, with engravings of bees on the flip side, and this is the second of 8 releases, and this one follows the 50p coin, with others to follow when demand makes it necessary, and all of them reflect the King's commitment to wildlife and conservation and the natural world. Queen Camilla has been spotted in her leisure time, this time in her favourite role as Grandma, and she was enjoying a casual lunch in the Scottish village of Balmoral with Tommy and Laura and some of her grandchildren. She wasn't able to escape the paps, but it was a low-key excursion for our resting queen in denim and off-duty. I expect you've seen the videos now of the Duchess of Sussex speaking Spanish, or attempting to. If you haven't, I shall furnish you with an impersonation. It went something like this. I'm being naughty. Actually, I've got no idea if it was good or not. I've heard different reports, but from what I heard, I mean, it was an okay attempt. It was an okay attempt. I wouldn't say I was especially expert, but then I can't really talk. I'm only fluent in the language of love, my dear. It's the language of love. But on their final day in Colombia, I wonder what's going to be next on the agenda of the tour, which leg we're going to be shown. But on the final day, day 4, she wore a sleeveless cotton shirt and a sequined skirt by another Colombian designer and some magenta Manolo Blahniks, and I noticed that her tendrils were flapping about and blowing in the breeze. Perhaps she should braid them like me and like Jules Lebrun. But they were flapping all about in the breeze. I think she was using one of those fans that I suggested to her just a few days ago. She saw the broadcast and whipped one out, didn't she, my dear? She's got a fan on her, which is fair enough, but why did she pair that with the tendrils? She could have just had it slicked back in a pony so nothing was flapping around. But there's always something, isn't there? Always some attention to detail that she doesn't think about. We're told that Lilibet has found her voice. Lilibet has found her voice. Isn't that wonderful news? She was encouraging young girls and women to use their voice to be heard. That's what she keeps telling us to do, doesn't she? Well, telling young girls what to do. Whatever happened to children should be seen and not heard. Call me old-fashioned. I am. But I ask you. Confidence and assertiveness are both desirable qualities and characteristics for children, and they should be instilled into children. But there is a fine line between confidence and assertiveness and bolshy, blousy entitlement.
Not demure.
She also suggested that where young girls need to be encouraged to raise their voice and speak up, young boys should be raised to listen. And I find that quite sexist, actually, in 2024. I think it's double standards. You won't find a greater cheerleader for women than me. I can promise you that, my dear. I even have a bias, perhaps, in their favour, in women's favour, but this generalisation that the female voice is more repressed and the male ear needs to listen more in these young boys, I'm afraid that is now outdated, unless you're talking about other nations and within other religious states where men and women are segregated, of course. But for the most part, in our societies now, it's outdated, and I'm afraid that it is anything but equitable to prattle on like this. It's offensive, and I don't care who knows it. And I'm not objecting to the concept of listening to anybody, but we don't need to specify one gender over another. One should be encouraged to speak, one should be encouraged to listen. And another example, she tells us that fixing things is uniquely female. She said, you see something wrong and you go to fix it. Maybe that's just a very female thing. Or perhaps it applies to both sexes. I understand there are different qualities when it comes to fixing things that are traditionally associated with a woman, and perhaps a maternal woman, for example. I understand the nuances, but I'm very pleased to say that women are now given the opportunity to fix something more than just their husband's supper, and have had that ability for several decades now, my dear. So let's not ignore the centuries of men's ability to problem solve and fix things in the most literal sense. You know, it's insulting to men. And if you disagree with me, my dears, you're very welcome to leave your point of view, as long as you do it with courtesy. It'll be very welcome and give me some food for thought. But I reject the notion that fixing things is a very female thing, and the reason that it irks me is that they make such a hullabaloo about being equal and equitable and fair-minded, while at the same time disparaging whites and men. And oh God, oh Lordy, sweet Jemima, she tortured us with the same old fable, the same old tale. It's almost as if she is parodying herself, isn't it? I was 11 years old, and you may know this story. I had seen a commercial that I felt was sexist. Oh, again. That old chestnut. Do you think we haven't been listening to you, Meghan, because we weren't raised to listen to precocious little brats called Meghan? Do you think that? Well, we do actually listen, my dear. We've listened to the same old story 1 trillion times, and we're sick to the back teeth of hearing it.
Not Demure.
And then, of course, there was a costume change for some salsa dancing, and there were smooches galore. Oh, they're getting so cozy on the dance floor. Almost did the lambada, didn't they? I think that they are trying to out-romance Princess Beatrice and Edo. We're not going to give them that crown, though, are we, my dear? That's real love. That's not toxic dependency. The Mapoli-Mozzis show us real love, as do the Waleses. She wore a hand-embroidered skirt in ecru and tan sandals, and the Sunnies were Miu Miu artistes. And for the third act of this day, at the Petronio Alvarez Festival, she wore another piece of Colombian design, the Joya Colonial Tiered Cotton Poplin Maxi, which was green on white, and I enjoyed the colourways of it, and I liked to see her with her hair down. I think she looked pretty. And there was a farewell party. There was a crowd of thousands. They hadn't all assembled for the Harkles, so don't be fooled. They were there for the festival. But, you know, this random white lady and her ginger husband happened to pop into proceedings, so that's why they were there. And that's when she attempted some Spanish. Apparently she was rusty after learning the language 20 years ago, so she tells us, during her time at the Argentinian embassy, at the Xerox machine. Get us a coffee, love. Get us a coffee, Meghan. That work experience girl, Rachel. She's only good for photocopying at the Xerox machine and making a bit of coffee. Mine's a Blanche Devereaux. And let's wrap things up with someone who is truly demure, and that is our Duchess of Edinburgh, the demure Sophie, who has been keeping a low profile in Edinburgh, near to the Palace of Holyrood House, wearing a blue summer dress, very demure, very mindful and understated. And also she attended the Edinburgh International Festival with the Duke to watch the final performance involving Sir Mark Elder as musical director of the Halle, which has been Manchester's fine orchestra since 1858. She wore Max Mara, a blazer in ultramarine, and a batwing sleeve dress, very demure, very mindful, very royal. I look forward to reading your demure comments in the fruit basket below, and if you'd like to show your appreciation for this demure broadcast, then my tip jar is in the description box, and I thank you most demurely. Stay mindful, stay pure, and always demure. Until next time, my dears, ta-ra and toodle pip.